Picture this. You're standing in the corner of a dimly lit hotel ballroom, clutching a plastic cup of lukewarm Chardonnay or maybe a stale coffee. You're wearing a sticky name tag on your lapel that's peeling off at the corner, and you are anxiously scanning the room. You're trying to build up the courage to walk up to a stranger and deliver your elevator pitch, but deep down, you just feel dirty. We've all been there. It's that sinking feeling that networking is just a fancy word for using people. It feels transactional. It feels fake. You worry that to be successful, you have to become one of those schmoozers, the kind of person who shakes your hand while looking over your shoulder to see if there's someone more important in the room. It's exhausting, isn't it? But here is the question that might change your entire career. What if everything you've been told about networking is wrong?
What if the reason it feels so painful is that we've been taught to view it as a hunt when it should be an act of giving? That is the core premise of the modern business classic we are diving into today, Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. Now, Ferrazzi isn't your typical corporate theorist. He didn't start at the top. He grew up in a small, blue-collar steel town. His father was a steel worker, and money was tight. But young Keith learned a secret early on, while working as a caddie at the local country club. He watched the wealthiest, most successful people in town, and he realized something profound. They weren't just hoarding their success. They were constantly helping each other. They were finding jobs for each other's kids, investing in each other's ideas, and offering counsel. He realized that poverty wasn't just a lack of money, it was isolation. It was being cut off from the people who could help you make more of yourself.
This book argues that real networking, or what Ferrazzi prefers to call connecting, isn't about greed, it's about generosity. It's not about keeping score or asking, what can this person do for me? It's about asking, how can I help them? Ferrazzi writes, the currency of real networking is not greed, but generosity. It's a complete flip of the script. When you stop trying to get something and start trying to give value, whether that's advice, support, or just a friendly introduction, the awkwardness disappears. You aren't a salesperson anymore. You're a connector. So, if you are ready to stop working the room and start actually building relationships that matter, stay with me. In the next segment, we're going to look at the specific mindset you need to adopt to make this work, and why the biggest mistake people make is thinking that relationships are a finite resource.
That specific mindset is exactly what we are here to unpack today. Welcome to The Last Read. Books for your ears, wisdom for your life. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, because we are on a journey to master the art of human connection. Here is the agenda. We aren't just going to summarize chapters or give you a dry book report. That simply doesn't help you in the real world. Instead, we are going to decode the secret mental models of the world's most connected people.
We are digging into the blueprint used by power players, from Silicon Valley CEOs to political heavyweights, to build their empires. This is about understanding the underlying operating system of success. If you want to dive deeper into the source material yourself, you can find the link to Never Eat Alone right in the description below.
And I want you to stick around, because later on, I'm going to reveal the dinner party strategy, a simple, tactical move that changes everything about how you socialize and creates what Ferrazzi calls relationship glue. But before we get to the tactics, we have to understand the man behind the method. Because this philosophy didn't start in a boardroom or at a fancy Ivy League mixer. It started on a golf course, with a young caddie carrying bags for the rich and powerful, watching them closely to see how the world really works.
Picture a working-class kid in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, the son of a steelworker and a cleaning lady. This is Keith Ferrazzi. While his dad was sweating in the mills, Keith was spending his days carrying golf bags for the wealthy elite at the local country club. And as he walked those fairways, he started to notice something. He watched the club members closely. He saw that they weren't just playing golf, they were constantly helping one another. If someone needed a job for their daughter, it was handled on the 3rd hole. If a business needed capital, it was arranged by the 12th.
He realized that for these people, success wasn't a solo sport, it was a team effort. They weren't just exchanging business cards, they were genuinely looking out for each other. That was his light bulb moment. Ferrazzi realized that poverty wasn't just a lack of financial resources, it was a lack of people. It was isolation.
He took that lesson and ran with it. He hustled his way into Yale, then Harvard Business School, and eventually rocketed up the corporate ladder to become the youngest chief marketing officer at Deloitte, and later the youngest CMO in the Fortune 500 at Starwood Hotels. But he didn't get there by hoarding contacts or playing politics. He got there by applying that simple lesson he learned on the golf course, that you can't get there alone. So how do you actually build a network like that without feeling like a fake? Well, the first step is a complete mindset shift, one where you have to throw away the ledger and stop keeping score.
Because the moment you start keeping score, you've already lost the game. See, most people treat networking like a transaction. It's a cold, calculated exchange. I give you this, you give me that. I buy you lunch, you introduce me to your boss. It's essentially a trade. But Ferrazzi argues for something completely different. He calls it audacious generosity. It's the idea that you should be giving constantly and aggressively without any expectation of a direct return. It's not about trading favors, it's about making other people successful. Think of your relationships like a bank account.
In a regular bank, you can't walk up to the teller and demand a withdrawal if you haven't put any money in. You have to make deposits first. Relationships work the same way. You have to build up equity. You have to make deposit after deposit of support, advice, and kindness before you can ever expect to make a withdrawal. And the audacious part comes from the scale of that giving. It's not just holding a door open. Imagine a colleague who's struggling to find their next role. The transactional networker might forward them a link if they stumble across one, but the audacious giver, they might spend an hour rewriting that colleague's resume or personally call 3 headhunters to vouch for them.
And here is the kicker. They do it knowing they might get absolutely nothing in return. They do it simply because the currency of real networking isn't greed, it's generosity. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds exhausting. How do you have the energy to constantly give, help, and serve everyone around you without burning out? Well, it's a lot easier when you're fueled by something specific, something Ferrazzi calls the blue flame.
The blue flame isn't some mystical concept. It's actually quite practical. Ferrazzi defines it as the intersection of passion and ability. Think of a Venn diagram. In one circle, you have the things you love, your passions, your dreams, the stuff you do for free. In the other circle, you have your talents, the things you're actually good at, where you have a track record of results. Where those two circles overlap, that is your blue flame. And this matters for networking because, well, have you ever talked to someone who is clearly good at their job but hates it? It's draining, right? You can feel the friction. It's hard to help them because they don't even want to be there.
Now, contrast that with someone operating in their blue flame. Their enthusiasm is contagious. You want to help them because their energy pulls you in. Ferrazzi uses a beautiful image to describe this. He asks you to imagine the business world, or just life in general, as a cold, dark forest. Most people are wandering around, heads down, trying to stay warm. When you find your blue flame, you become a campfire in that woods. You don't have to run around begging people to pay attention to you. You don't have to chase them down. You just have to burn bright. If you are genuinely excited about your mission and you have the talent to back it up, people will naturally come out of the cold to stand near your fire. They want to be part of that warmth.
Suddenly, networking isn't about working the room. It's just sharing your light. But here is the reality check. Even a roaring fire needs maintenance. You can't just light it once and expect it to burn forever. And you can't expect all those people drawn to your warmth to stay there if you ignore them for months at a time. But you also can't spend all day writing long, emotional letters to everyone you know. You need a system, a way to touch base that is quick, effective, and keeps you top of mind without taking over your life. Ferrazzi calls this the art of the ping.
Stay warm. So here is the secret. You don't need an hour-long lunch to keep a fire burning. You just need to poke it every once in a while. Ferrazzi calls this pinging. The concept is simple but easy to forget. Frequency matters more than duration. Think about it. If you have a 2-hour dinner with someone and then disappear for 2 years, that relationship decays. It essentially goes back to zero. But if you send that same person a quick 30-second email or text every couple of months, that relationship stays alive. It stays warm. And Ferrazzi is militant about this. He says that 80% of relationship building is just staying in touch. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have time to call 1,000 people. And you're right, you don't. That's why the ping has to be quick. It's a casual greeting, a digital wave. Ferrazzi has a few go-to methods for this. The first is the value ping. You read an article, you see a piece of news, or you hear a podcast, like this one, and you think, hey, Sarah would love this.
Don't just file that away. Send it to her right then. Hey, Sarah, saw this and thought of you. Hope you're winning. Send. Done. You've just proven you're thinking about her and adding value to her life, and it took you 15 seconds. The second is what Ferrazzi calls the pinging staple: birthdays. Most people rely on Facebook to tell them when to say happy birthday, which is lazy. Ferrazzi suggests you get serious about it. When you meet someone, find out their birthday, put it in your calendar. And when that day comes, don't just write HBD on their wall. Send a real text, or better yet, a quick voice note. It stands out because almost no one does it anymore. And there is actual science backing this up. Sociologists talk about a concept called dormant ties. These are people you used to know, old colleagues, college roommates, that guy you met at a conference 3 years ago, but haven't spoken to in a while.
Research shows that reconnecting with these dormant ties is actually more valuable than constantly talking to your current circle. Why? Because your current friends know what you know. They read the same stuff, they hang out in the same places. But a dormant tie, they've been off in a different world. They have new information, new perspectives, new connections. So the ping isn't just polite, it's strategic. It wakes up those sleeping connections and puts them back into play. However, as your network grows, you will realize you can't ping everyone. The math just doesn't work. You have to be selective. You have to find the people who can give you the most leverage. We call these people super connectors. These are the people who don't just know a few folks, they know everyone. The journalists, the headhunters, the restaurateurs. If you can befriend just one of these people, you don't need to know the whole town. You just need to know the hub of the wheel. And believe it or not, the most powerful person in your local network might just be the guy who pours your coffee. We'll talk about how to spot them and how to win them over next.
So, what is a super connector? Think of the architecture of a network. Most people visualize it as a spider web, messy, chaotic, lines going everywhere. But Keith Ferrazzi asks us to look at it more like a bicycle wheel. You have the rim, and you have the spokes. If you try to get to know every single person on the rim, every individual spoke, you're going to burn out. The math is against you. You just don't have enough time in the day to maintain authentic relationships with 1,000 random people. But if you know the hub, if you know the piece in the center that holds all those spokes together, suddenly you have access to the entire wheel. This is the hub and spoke model. Superconnectors are the hubs. They are the linchpins. These are people whose professional success depends on knowing everyone. It's not a hobby for them, it's their job. Ferrazzi identifies a few key professions where these people hide in plain sight. First, you have the headhunters, recruiters. Their entire database is human capital. They know who is hiring, who is firing, and who is looking to move.
Then you have the journalists. They have to know the news before it happens, which means they need sources in every industry. But the most accessible superconnector, and the one most people completely ignore, is the restaurateur, the owner of the local high-end restaurant or the popular bistro. Think about it. Who sees the powerful lawyers, the bankers, the artists, and the politicians when their guard is down? Who knows which table they prefer and what wine they drink? The person running the floor. Ferrazzi gives very specific tactical advice on how to turn a restaurant owner into your strongest ally. And it's not just about spending money, it's about strategy. First, pick one place. Don't spread your patronage around town. You want to become a regular in the truest sense of the word. You want to treat this place like your second office, your social headquarters. Second, go when it's quiet. Don't try to make friends on a frantic Friday night. Go on a Tuesday. Go when the owner has time to actually breathe and talk to you.
Third, and this is crucial, be generous. Tip the staff incredibly well. Overtip. You want to be the customer they are excited to see walk through the door. Why do this? Because eventually you're going to bring a date there, or a potential client, or a business partner you're trying to impress. And when you walk in and the owner greets you by name, maybe sends a complimentary appetizer to the table, or comes over to chat, you instantly inherit their status. It provides social proof. It signals to your guest that you are an insider, that you are connected. You have essentially borrowed the restaurant owner's authority. By knowing this one hub, you look like a star to everyone else on the wheel. But going to restaurants is just one side of the coin. Ferrazzi says you can't just rely on other people's venues. Eventually, you have to create your own hub. You have to stop being a guest and start being the host. And that leads us to the title of the book itself, and the most ancient form of networking there is. We'll cover the strategy of the dinner party next.
So, here we are, the core philosophy, the very title of the book. Never eat alone. It sounds like a simple rule, but Ferrazzi insists it is much more than a catchy phrase. It is an operating system for your life. Think about it. Eating is primal. It is the most ancient form of social bonding we have. In almost every culture on Earth, breaking bread is an act of peace, of trust. When you sit down at a table with someone, their defenses naturally come down. The stiff, professional armor we wear in the boardroom tends to loosen up after the first appetizer. Ferrazzi argues that invisibility is a fate far worse than failure. And if you are eating lunch at your desk, alone, scrolling through your phone, you are invisible. So how do you fix this? You stop waiting for invitations, and you become the host. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm not a party planner. I don't cook. Ferrazzi is very specific here. It is not about the food. He says you could serve takeout pizza and a decent bottle of wine. If the company is good, no one will care about the menu. But if the conversation is boring, a 5-course meal won't save you. The strategy here is to build your own hub, and the blueprint is the small dinner party, ideally 6 to 10 people. But you don't just invite 6 random people from your contact list. You have to curate the room.
Ferrazzi advises against inviting 6 bankers or 6 lawyers. That is an echo chamber. Instead, he creates what he calls social arbitrage. You want to mix worlds. Invite the journalist you met last week, the struggling artist, the hedge fund manager, and maybe that local restaurant owner we talked about. You become the bridge between these different universes. The banker has probably never met a sculptor before. The journalist needs new stories. By introducing them, you create value for everyone. But how do you get them to show up, especially if you aren't famous yet?
Ferrazzi uses a concept he calls the anchor tenant. It's a term borrowed from commercial real estate. When developers build a shopping mall, they don't start with the small boutique shops. They sign a big department store first, the anchor. Once that big name is on the lease, all the smaller shops line up to be near it. Your dinner party works the same way. If you can get one star guest, maybe a well-respected professor, or a local politician, or just someone known for being the life of the party, you mention them when you invite everyone else. Hey, I'm having dinner with so-and-so. Would you like to join us? Suddenly, your acceptance rate skyrockets.
Once they are at the table, your job changes. You are no longer just the organizer. You are the social lubricant. Ferrazzi warns against letting the group fracture into little side conversations. As the host, you are the conductor. You might tap a glass and ask a single question that everyone has to answer. You steer the conversation away from the weather and toward people's passions. You introduce guests not just by their job titles, but by what makes them interesting. John, tell everyone about that marathon you just ran. Sarah, didn't you just get back from Japan? When you do this right, you transform a list of contacts into a community. You are no longer just a name in their phone. You are the person who brought them together. But getting people to the table is only the first step. You can have the anchor tenant, the perfect mix of guests, and the wine flowing. But if everyone stays on the surface, if everyone keeps their professional mask on, you haven't really made friends. You've just had a meeting with food. To turn a dinner guest into a lifelong ally, you have to go deeper. You have to do something that feels risky. You have to lower your own shield first. And that brings us to the next and perhaps most difficult strategy in the book, the vulnerability loop. We'll talk about why your flaws are actually your greatest asset next.
The vulnerability loop. This is the moment where you stop trying to impress people and start trying to connect with them. See, most of us are trained to lead with our strengths. When we meet someone new, especially in a business setting, we instinctively polish our armor. We talk about our wins, our credentials, our perfect track record. Ferrazzi argues that while this might earn you respect, it doesn't earn you friendship. Professionalism builds walls. Humanity builds bridges. To move from an acquaintance to a friend, you have to initiate what Ferrazzi calls the vulnerability loop. Here is how it works. One person admits a struggle or a flaw. This acts as a signal to the other person that it is safe to lower their guard. When they reciprocate by sharing a struggle of their own, a bond is formed. You have created a shared space of trust.
Ferrazzi suggests that the most powerful way to do this is often when the stakes are highest. Consider the example of admitting a mistake to a boss or a major client. The corporate instinct is to hide the error, or if you can't hide it, to spin it. You write the email, you blame the vendor, you minimize the damage. You keep the professional mask on tight. Ferrazzi says, do the opposite. He advises that you walk into that office and you say, I screwed up. Here is exactly what happened, and I am struggling with how to fix it. It feels counterintuitive. It feels like professional suicide. But something remarkable happens when you do this. You stop being a vendor or an employee, and you become a human being. By admitting you are frightened or overwhelmed, you disarm them. You invite them to stop judging you and start helping you. You are no longer on opposite sides of the table negotiating blame. You are on the same side, solving a problem together. This is the key. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of confidence. It shows you are secure enough to be imperfect. But it requires courage. You have to be the one to go first. You have to be the one to risk rejection, to gain connection. And once you master this, once you stop networking and start connecting, you realize that the size of your network is less important than the quality of it. Which leads us to the final truth of this book. The idea that your relationships don't just shape your career, they shape your entire life. We'll wrap everything up with Ferrazzi's philosophy on why your network is your destiny. Next.
Ferrazzi's philosophy here is simple yet profound. He believes that your network is your destiny
because we are the people we interact with. Think about it. If you surround yourself with people who are constantly growing, generous, and ambitious, you will naturally drift in that direction. If you isolate yourself or stick to a circle that is stagnant, well, that becomes your reality too. So let's take a step back and look at the big picture. We've covered a lot of ground in this book, but it all boils down to a few core habits. First, lead with generosity. Stop keeping score. Treat relationships like muscles. The more you work them, the stronger they get. You don't trade favors, you build a reservoir of goodwill. Second, master the art of the ping. You don't need hour-long coffees to maintain a bond. A quick email, a text, a shared article, just a small signal to say, "I'm thinking of you." It keeps the connection alive without being a burden.
Third, and perhaps the most difficult for many of us, be vulnerable. As we discussed, dropping the professional mask is the only way to move from a contact to a comrade. And finally, never eat alone. It sounds like a simple rule, but it's the physical manifestation of everything we've talked about. Food is the great equalizer. Breaking bread is the oldest form of community building we have. If you are eating lunch at your desk while scrolling through emails, you are missing the most valuable hour of the workday. Ferrazzi leaves us with a quote that I think sums up the entire book perfectly. He writes, "Poverty, I realized, wasn't only a lack of financial resources, it was isolation from the kind of people who could help you make more of yourself."
That is a heavy realization. We often think of poverty as an empty bank account, but real poverty is an empty address book. It's having no one to turn to when you stumble and no one to celebrate with when you win. Success, in the end, is not a solo endeavor. It is a team sport. The self-made man or woman is a myth. Every success story is actually a story of community, of mentorship, and of collaboration. So, don't wait for an invitation. Build the community you want to be a part of. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Never Eat Alone, please make sure to subscribe to The Last Read. And if you want to grab a copy of the book, which I highly recommend, as we've only scratched the surface, click the link in the description. As you head out today, I want to leave you with one question, a question that could change the trajectory of your career and your life if you take it seriously. Who will you eat with today?